Ladies and gentlemen, and we're still with you on today's edition of Cairo Local Time. And of course, as promised earlier today, we are discussing the upcoming parliamentary elections and the importance for all Egyptians, whether inside or outside Egypt, to take part in the voting process. And of course, the very prominent and important role that is played by the members of parliament and the Egyptian parliament. I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon in the studio by my guest, Ms. Jhonia Nassif Awad, Senior Specialist in Economics, Political Relations. A very good afternoon to you, Jhonia, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Good afternoon, and thanks for the heartwarming welcome.
Thank you very much. Now, a total of 63 million Egyptians are eligible to cast their votes in the upcoming parliamentary election. How important is it, in your opinion, that all the eligible voters actually go out and participate and practice their political right of voting for their members of parliament?
Actually, representative, especially the parliament elections, is very important, especially these elections. It differs totally from 2015, the last elections that last for 5 years, and this elections actually represent a large segment of people. They enlarge the number for the seats available in the parliament to reach 596 seats, and enlarge the percent of the women to reach 25%, as well 8% for the Egyptians abroad, and the youth also have a great participant. So the all segments of the nation, the Egyptian nation, must be included, and this is the very beginning steps of the democracy, and how to allocate democracy in a very right way, like putting the Egyptian people on the right path of the democracy, allocating all the resources, and the voting process. We are starting to teach people how to go voting, and teach them how it's very important right for them, as the constitution give them this right. As being an Egyptian nationality, you have rights during concerning the constitution, so you have to use your rights, you have to know your rights, and you have to be aware of how to choose the responsible of who gonna represent you in the election, in your circle, in your country, in your governorate. You have to be aware totally how you can choose your representative in the parliament.
Absolutely. Like Jhonia, a total of 4,006 individual candidates and 8 party lists have been accepted to run in the parliamentary elections, which is a much bigger number than before. This election is a bit different in terms of the parties' participation. More parties are now taking part. How do you think this will enrich the political life in Egypt, the democratic process, and the effectiveness overall of the House of Representatives?
First of all, patriotism is always the key answer of everything. Patriotism means the spirit of the nationalism. All the nation have to gather in one spirit. They have to be all allocated and gathered around one vote and one president. We have to get attached together, and all the nations have to be aware of how to communicate together, and how to teach all the people how to accept each other. A multi-party political system is such an efficient system that assure its success in all nations and all countries across Europe and America. Actually, multi-party political system is a system that all parties with different ideologies gather together and unify their thought for one to build community in such a healthy way. All the parties nowadays, regardless their ideology, they are seeking to solve the issues that the country is now facing, as how to communicate with the people, the normal street person in the road. They are aware that they have to communicate with him. They have to solve his issue, because he is the main threat of the street.
Absolutely.
He is the voice of the street.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we're seeing here the Minister Nabila Makram calling for internationals, Egyptian living abroad, to, of course, take part in the voting process. Now, Egyptian expats also have a role to play. They've become much more active in the voting process. How important is their upcoming participation, in your opinion?
Actually, Egyptian abroad are playing a key role, being the soft power of Egypt outside. They are the image and the ambassadors of Egypt.
Yes,
not
indeed.
only our ambassadors from the foreign affairs that they can represent Egypt outside, but also our people. They are the image of being the image of the country. They explain the culture. They can behave in the community that they are living, even it's US or America, in Europe. They are the image. They are the soft power that can interfere in every issue and can solve it.
Absolutely.
So actually they have a great role. And also they can reflect all the problems that they are facing abroad here in Egypt that we can solve. And the minister, Dr. Nabila, is an efficient one.
Yes.
Who can represent the problems actually that they are facing abroad. And she is perfect in solving this.
Absolutely right. Jhonia, let's talk down 25% of the seats, as you said, are now being allocated for women,
Yes.
a new quota for women, and of course more youth participation is being encouraged, and they're becoming more involved really in political life in Egypt. Do you see this as making the new House of Representatives being different this time round, if there's more women representation and more youth participation?
Yes, as I mentioned before, the election of 2015 was over the high top. Every time there were 14.9% of women representing in the seats of the parliament, but today reaching 25% is such a significant enhancement in our system, and being able to reach all the women voices, because who knows issues of problems of women
themselves.
Yes, themselves. And actually for youth, being engaged more youth in the parliament, and let me tell you, the last statistics shows that youth represented 20 million from the population in Egypt. That means they are 21% of the total population of Egypt. So that means that Egypt nation is youth.
Absolutely.
So when you engage youth in the political life earlier, you engage them in the civic engagement, you give them the opportunity to share, you give them better vote, you give them the right to know their rights in the country, and prepare a nation that can promote the political life before and can promote your image on all the regional and international stages all over the world.
Indeed. Let's talk a bit about some of the issues you expect the new parliament to tackle. The new members of parliament will come in with obviously fresh eyes, fresh perspective. What are some of the issues you expect them to tackle, proceed with, especially related to the successful economic reforms and development projects, in light, of course, of the coronavirus pandemic that has really dragged on worldwide economies?
Yes, actually the pandemic was a disaster, and it came with a negative impact all over the world, not only in Egypt. But for our luck and for our good luck, actually, we had a government that works 5 years ago on the economic reform and enhanced the economic development plan. So actually, I want to encourage all the parliament because they are facing lots of issues. The first, they are not easy at all. The first is the shortage of the water that may be increased due to the Ethiopian grant. We hope.
But locally, let's talk about domestically. Domestically, what are some of the main topics that you expect them to, especially since there's more women representation, more youthful participation? How do you see they'll be, focused this time around?
Actually, locally, we are working on the development plan.
Yes.
Very great from all the aspects. They are working, the government actually, with all the ministers and the prime minister, working on the development plan and as building rules and all of this infrastructure,
Yes.
renewing the infrastructure, all of this, caring about the slum areas people who suffered years and years and years of the exhausted infrastructure system, and they were neglected totally, especially people in Nuba and Upper Egypt. They were suffering from the neglection ages ago. So this time they have a big portion of the elected voices in the parliament, and they are very well represented. So that means that they're gonna have more rights. They're gonna be seen more, not only focusing on the Cairo, the capital Cairo, but they are focusing now on Sinai. They're making a development
all over the country, indeed.
Development plans in Sinai and other, we can see in Alamein,
Egypt as
and
well.
yes, in Upper Egypt they start to making great infrastructure with the electricity projects and the renewing water supplies and digging for gold and other يعني want to give a great thanks for our heritage minister and the historical, because every day in each they can explore historical sites.
Indeed.
And that will lead us to another point of foreign attraction, investment. Absolutely. Foreign attraction.
Absolutely. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today, but I'd like to thank you very, very much, Jhonia Nassif Awad, Senior Specialist in Economic and Political Relations. Thank you so much for coming in this afternoon and for your insight.
Thank you
so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up today's edition of Cairo Local Time. You're in the company of myself, Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.